Now let's begin. Now, what is an array? As we have studied in our last session or last first unit, if we see this data structure classification figure, right, diagram, we can see that arrays, we can find out, we can locate arrays in this particular structure, and we see that this array is a linear data structure. That means it falls under it is a data structure and it falls under the category of a linear data structure. And we studied that a linear array is a list of finite number n of homogeneous data elements, that is data elements of the same type, such that the elements of an array are referenced respectively by an index set, right, consisting of a consecutive number. First of all, the linear array is a list of finite and homogeneous data elements. You cannot have a system elements in an array, right? You cannot add heterogeneous system data in an array. The data that is there in an array are homogeneous in nature. Second thing is they are how they are referenced. Okay, they are referenced with the help of index set. That means there are a set of index which are consecutive numbers, and with the help of consecutive numbers, I am going to read or update a particular data. The elements of an array are stored respectively in successive memory location. So the elements are stored in some successive memory location based on the index. Right. This is the basic definition of an array. The number n of an element, number n of the elements in array is equal to length or size of the array. Okay, because we are talking about linear arrays or one-dimensional arrays. So we what we say is the number of elements inside an array is the length of the array or the size of the array. So if I ask you what is the size of an array, so you can say the length of the array will be the size of the array, right? In general, the index set consists of 1, 2, 3 up to the power n. Okay, you can have n elements or 2n elements or 3n elements, whatever the set, but it is a consecutive numbers. Suppose that you are given with a lower bound, and we represent lower bound by LB, that is minimum index, and upper bound by UB, that is the maximum index of an array. Okay. Can you find the length of or the number of elements of an array? Because as per the definition, yes, we should be able to. And what is the formula with we could not keep on counting the number of errors or arrays. Like if I have a 10 elements array, we can easily count. If I 100 element array, it's difficult to count. So if I am 200, 2000, 3000, 4000 set of arrays, then it's very difficult to keep on counting the elements. So what we need to do is we need to have some sort of formula which can tell us by entering some values we can just get the length of the array. So the answer is yes, we can find the length of the number of elements in the array, and it is given by length is equal to upper bound, whatever the maximum limit, maximum number of elements or maximum address in that index that is there in that array, minus what is the lower index in that array. And to normalize, to get the right figure, we need to add a constant called 1. So length is equal to upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. So you use this formula to calculate the length of the complete array, right? You can see this formula once again. Length is equal to upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. Let us see how this works. So if I say the lower bound is 0 and upper bound is n minus 1. So if I calculate the length, so I will put like upper bound is n minus 1 minus lower bound 0 plus 1. So we will cancel out this 1 and 1 and we will get remain n. So there is n element. So now you see when we use for loop in a C lab, we start from for I is equal to 0. My I will iterate till n minus 1 elements only, right? It will never iterate till n elements because from 0 to n minus 1 there are n elements. if I use a lower bound as 1 and upper bound as n minus 1, then that case it is rotating from n minus 1 elements. Now, can you tell me what is the length of this array when lower bound is 1 and upper bound is n minus 1?
2.
How can it be 2? Can you do it on your pencil paper and then we'll plus? It cannot be 2. Because there is a term called n, right? So you cannot have 2 here.
Yeah, sir, n minus 1.
Fine. The thing is, you replace this formula now with your data. N minus 1 is upper bound, lower bound is minus 1, and then you have a plus 1 again, right? And you remove these two, you get n minus 1 elements. So in that case, you are having n minus 1 elements in this array. If a lower bound is 1 and upper bound is n minus 1, you are there to have n minus 1 elements in that particular array. So in this way, you calculate the length of an array. If you are given two independent variables like lower bound and upper bound, you can just keep these variables and you can create like find the array length of an array. Now, keeping that formula in mind, can you read this question and finally give me the answer, right? An automobile company uses an auto array, right? There's an array called auto, right? To record the number of automobiles sold each year starting from 1932 through 1984, right? The index of the auto array starts with the year k instead of 1. That means now the index will not start from 1, 2, 3, 4 or to n. It will start from 1932, 1933, 1934 like this, right? Example is auto k is equal to number of automobiles sold in either year k. So you will see that k is the index and k is the year in which you sold some type of auto. So now tell me what is the length of the array auto, and we will keep this thing in mind. This is the basic auto like array, and I want you all to just have a look at this uh, example because we will again and again use the same example in many time in this chapter. Okay. Anyone else want to answer? There are almost 9 students and 3 answered, right? Anyone else who want to answer this question? Okay. The correct answer is 53 only. What we do is the upper bound was 1984 and lower bound was 1932. So we subtracted 1932 from 1984 and we added 1 to get 53. So in total there must be 53 records in this particular auto array for in this example. Fine. Now we work on representation of an array. How an array is represented in a computer, and at the same time how this array is being read by a computer. It is whether it is needed that all the index should be stored or only one index can be stored like this. Let LA be a linear array in a memory of a computer. As we have studied, the elements of a linear array are stored in successive memory locations, right? Accordingly, computer does not keep track of address of every element of a linear array. It does not need every index or every address, right? But it keeps track only on the base address of an array. That means denoted by base LA. It's called a base address. So my computer will always, my program will, whenever I will create an array, will never keep track of all the addresses, right? It will only keep track of the base address of an array, which is called as the B base LA, right? It's a base address. Now, how we compute different addresses based on the base address? Want you want to go to a certain index and read the value? How you do it? We will see in the next slide. Using this base address, a computer calculates the address of any element in the linear array using the formula. Location of the kth element of LA, right, is equal to base address of the LA plus weight, some weight times a word times k minus lower bound, right? This is the formula based on which I can calculate the location of any element, kth element in a linear array called LA, right? And the legends are LK is the kth element of the LA. Location LK is the location of the kth element of an linear array. Base LA is the base address. W is the word per memory cell of LA, right? W is the word per memory cell of LA, and LB is the lower bound, right? Is everything clear in this formula? Is everything clear in this formula? Okay. So can anyone tell me what is W? Can you explain how do you like the meaning is written word per memory cell in LA. So what can be the values? How will compute this? What do you mean by words per memory cell? What do you mean by words per memory cell? Size of data type. Yes. But size means if I say integer, it requires 1 byte or 2 byte, whatever bytes are this. But generally, what we say is a number of cells that makes one word, right? One word. That means if I say if I want to store certain things in record, right? Student is one of the record, and I want to store four things in a record. The student zero will make up by four indices, right? This is all about student. This is a multi like one digit array, and I want to store certain amount of data in student zero, right? Certain amount of things in student zero, and then I have to show certain amount of thing for student one, and then I have to show certain amount of information for student two. So how many cells I will require for student zero? How many cells I will require for student one, and how many student cell I will require for student two? It's called a W, right? In this case, the base address is 100, right? So four cells, if a student represent a single entry, so W is 4, the base address is 100, value of k is 1, right? And lower bound is 0, right? Value of k is now I want to find the location, starting location of the first student, not the zero student, but the student one. So the k value is 1. So this is the kth element. So I am looking for the kth element. The k value is 1, but lower bound was 0. The lower bound was 0, right? Lower bound was 0. This is the lower bound. This is the kth element. This is the k, and this is lower bound. So when I put this in equation here for this k, this is the value of the k. So can you calculate the answer? The answer is shown here. Not an issue with that. We calculated 100 plus 4 minus 4 into 1 minus 0. This is the kth value. This is lower bound. So when we put all this value in this, you get 104. So the location of the student 1 should start from 104 and we will read for 4 terms, right? If you put 2 here for student 2, this value should come up at 108, right? For 3 students, it will become 1012. So likewise, just system just put whatever index you want to reach. You put the index and it will give the address. You keep on putting index and you will get the address, right? So this is how a computer just maintain one address, is called base address, and with the help of a certain formula, I can keep on jumping to the correct address, right? Now let us try to consider calculate the address of 2 years in an array called auto again, right? So we see the array called auto that stores the number of automobiles in an year starting from 1932 to 1984. So first we will try to calculate the address of the year 1965. So we put the base address was 200 and words per mobile cell was 4. So 200 plus 4 into 1965 minus 1932 will give you 332. So the data of 1965 will begin from the address called 332, right? The base address was 200, or 200 should be the address of 1932, right? So 332 will be the address of 1965. So what will be the address of 1972? What will be the address for the like element 1972? Then there's the index LKA. Yeah, auto 1972. I should write it auto 1972 instead. Okay, the answer is okay, fine. The answer is 360. So you will get your answer as 3, 6, and 0. Right? So this is the answer. Now you have started, you have learned how to calculate the base address of this particular, right? You understand how to calculate the base address for any index if given a base address, right? Now let us see what do you mean by the operations of an array, right? Means I studied that there are something called traversing and then insertion, deletion. These are the operations. Now traversing means accessing each record exactly once so that certain items in the record may be processed. It is something sometimes called as visiting. That means I want to traverse, I want to visit each node or each index or each value in an array exactly once, right? In order to find, to process some information, some the record, right? So this is called traversing. For traversing, now we are going to write an algorithm, study an algorithm. The algorithm starts like this, that we are having a counter called, k, right? This k will be initialized to the lower bound of that array, right? And we will keep on moving in that process, in that like processing something, whatever the function is, till the time my k is less than equal to upper bound, or till the time I reach that upper bound, right? till the time I reach the upper bound, I will keep on executing this process, right? And in doing so, whenever I do so, I will keep on incrementing the value of k, because I want to go ahead each time from lower bound to upper bound. I want to go from lower bound to upper bound. So I will keep on incrementing the value of k by one step by one step. I will keep on incrementing, and I will go and executing this process again and again. Finally, when my k reaches the upper bound, I will come out of this loop and I will exit that particular algorithm, right? So this is a very simple algorithm of traversing a any linear array, right? But just you need to understand that you need three set of information from here. One is called the lower bound, one is called the upper bound, and one is the process that you need to implement. You need to understand from the question that what is the process that the question that the person is talking about, and then you need to work on this process, right? Quickly, we will can reduce the number of steps also. Instead of using a while loop, you can use for loop. So in that case, you will write repeat for k is equal to lower bound to upper bound. So these two steps are gone, and then because the for loop take care of this increment option also, this step is also removed. So you are having one step as repeat for k is equal to lower bound to upper bound. This process term, one this term, one process term, and one exit, right? These three steps will make the same result for as you do in while loop. Fine. Now this process is different for a different algorithm. So you have to write your own process. While you read a particular example, you will try to understand this, how to write a process. So we are having just 3 minutes left. We quickly see one example. That's how to initialize. So if I say this is an array and I have k is equal to lower bound, and while this is the same algorithm of traversing, so what I do is I will initialize lower bound and upper bound. Lower bound is 1 and upper bound is 6. Now k is initialized to lower bound, so lower bound is 1 now. I I initialize something called empty array called sum. I have not initialized here. Sum is equal to 0 should be there. So I'll check k is less than lower bound, upper bound. Yes, k is 1 and upper bound is 6. So it is less than upper bound. I go inside this. Initial sum was 0 and L of 1 is 5. So I put sum is equal to 5. Then I increment the value of k to 2, and I again come and check 2 and 6. So the condition is valid. I will go inside and add 5 and 6, it's 11. I go and increment the value of k again. I go and check the value, this is less than 3 and 6 is less than the condition is true. I will go inside and add 15. So I keep on the moving. This k plus 1 is moving that particular pointer ahead. I will do this until I reach the k is equal to upper bound, right? K is equal to upper bound. At that time, I will come out of this loop and I will write the sum. So write the sum. This is the this sum is equal to sum plus sum is equal to sum plus lk is the process, right? This is the process that I have to do, right? And printing is also one of the output of this process. So we see the traversing of an array. The traversing of an array leads to, we will do many things in traversal. We can count the number of elements, or we can sum the number of elements. We can do many things in traversal. So in this, we just read the value and we print the sum of the complete elements in that particular array. So for today lecture, we end up here, and from tomorrow we will just continue with this traversing on this linear array.